Hey, everybody. Welcome to In Broad Daylight, a solo podcast hosted by me. I'm Adam Todd Brown. With the way our collective access to information works these days, anyone running for political office is sure to have several different scandals brewing and gaffes occurring around them at any given time. So it is perfectly understandable that not all of them get the national headlines they deserve. Like how J.D. Vance, while campaigning in Wisconsin recently, asked a deli owner if they served any food that sucked so he could feed it to the jerk store reporters who were following him around for some reason. You know, the same reporters who will ultimately tell the townsfolk if, say, you're the type of candidate who asks an innocent local deli owner for your most disgusting menu item, please, so I can serve it as revenge food. During that same visit, he was asked about how he's preparing for his upcoming debate with Tim Walz, and he stuck it to his Democratic rival real good by saying, I have a friend who embellishes and lies a lot. I'm having him stand in for Tim Walz. To which the entire world replied in unison, oh, do you mean Donald Trump? He didn't. Fascists are just terrible at jokes. But speaking of Donald Trump, he's in the midst of a wacky little scandal of his own that has put him directly at odds with the filthy rich residents of Palm Beach, Florida. That's where Mar-A-Lago is located, which of course means it's also where Donald Trump lives. As it turns out, the town has always kind of had a contentious relationship with Trump and Mar-A-Lago, with a lot of that tension having to do with traffic issues that spring up whenever the resort hosts large events. And now that problem in particular has reached a tipping point that, no joke, could end in Mar-A-Lago getting shut down. You see, in the days after the attempt on Trump's life on July 13th, Secret Service decided to get into the security game by beefing up protection around the various locales where Trump rests his Nerf basketball-colored head. That included shutting down a stretch of road near Mar-A-Lago at minimum until the day of the election, November 5th. The intersection of South Ocean Boulevard and South County Road southward to the traffic circle where South Ocean Boulevard and Southern Boulevard connect. Write it down if you're planning to visit soon. With all the tech we have on our side, you should never be caught off guard by something like this. What I do is print out my MapQuest directions and then write all the pertinent notes on back. Sound off in the comments with what techniques and technologies you use to navigate unfamiliar areas. Anyway, closing one stretch of road might not sound like a huge deal, but Southern Ocean Boulevard is the only road that directly links Palm Beach's north end and midtown sections with the southern part of town. That's how it was worded in the official Palm Beach news release about this development, except southern part of town is just a kind of tap dancing around sort of way to say Billionaires Row. That's what the southern part of town is actually called. As pointed out by Orlando Sentinel columnist Pat Beall, this closure means the unaffluent who work in service of the residents of Billionaires Row have to go way out of their way to get to work now. And that part's fine. But it also means when the billionaires want to slither out of their fortresses and mingle with the peasant class in town, they have to take a bridge, drive through West Palm Beach, and then take another bridge to get to the other side of Good Palm Beach. Fun fact about West Palm Beach. You know how some rich people's houses had servants' quarters back in the day? West Palm Beach had a servants' city. A guy named Henry Flagler founded Palm Beach. And you can't build a whole new city without help. And he sure as hell wasn't going to have that help living around him. So he founded West Palm Beach so all the workers could go live there when they weren't in use. And now the rich have to drive through those servants' quarters to get from one end of Palm Beach to another. And people, that was a literal bridge too far when it comes to residents and their relationship with Trump. After about a month of putting unneeded wear and tear on their Bentleys, the people had enough and started discussing their legal options. The town council voted in 1993 to allow Mar-A-Lago to operate as a private social club, and the town still has a lot of say in what happens there. For example, the Secret Service had to get authorization, called a Declaration of Use Agreement, to build a helicopter pad at Mar-A-Lago while Trump was president. Because helicopter pads are not permitted in town, it was destroyed immediately upon Trump leaving office. At a Palm Beach council meeting following those road closures, council members discussed the possibility that this road closure could constitute a violation of that tenuous agreement between Palm Beach and Mar-A-Lago. Mayor Danielle Moore responded to a question about what will be done about the traffic problems the closure has caused by saying, quote, "In my mind, if the road is closed, Mar-A-Lago Club is closed. There's no way in God's green earth that they can bring 350 people into that club. It's completely illogical that you've got a road closed and then you're going to let 350 strangers into your club," end quote. Town attorney Joanne O'Connor fired off a letter to the Secret Service asking the agency to, quote, "provide the legal authority authorizing USSS to implement this road closure for the specified duration and even when protectees are not in residence in the town." The latter represents a significant departure from prior actions by the USSS, end quote. At first, the Secret Service responded, I kid you not, by saying they got the letter and would consider replying sometime in the future. Maybe. And when the people of Palm Beach kept pushing the issue, the Secret Service responded by shutting down the ocean. On August 17th, it was announced that the Coast Guard and, quote, other law enforcement agencies would station boats with flashing blue lights around 3 fairly large areas of the Atlantic Ocean near Mar-A-Lago. In 2 of those areas, boats will not be allowed to stop and must maintain a steady rate of speed when moving through those areas, or, to paraphrase Steve Buscemi in the movie Fargo, you know, they're going to have to shoot you. The 3rd area will be completely off limits to anyone without permission from the feds. The ocean shutdowns will be enforced from August 19th to November 30th. For a brief while, it seemed like peace was possible. On August 19th, it was announced that a deal was struck in which the offending stretch of road would be reopened to those wealthy fucks whenever Trump wasn't home. The Trump family even released a statement. Here's a quote. "The Trump family is particularly grateful for the willingness of these agencies to collaborate with them and town officials to develop a compromise that benefits everyone involved. President Trump, the Trump family, and the Mar-A-Lago Club do not want to inconvenience anyone, especially their neighbors and greater community in Palm Beach. The Trumps have been members of the community for 30 years. It is their home, and they share the sentiments of fellow town residents," end quote. And what an uncharacteristic moment of compromise on Donald Trump and his team's part. Who knew they even had it in them? They don't, though. The road did reopen very briefly, but about a week after announcing the agreement, aka yesterday, as you're listening to this, the Secret Service announced that, psych, actually, the road is closed now and until further notice. I have no doubt that everyone listening to this already does not care one bit that a bunch of billionaires are being minorly inconvenienced by the United States Secret Service. But here's even more reason not to. One interesting and unfortunate quirk about the town of Palm Beach, Florida, is that in 1925, they enacted a law that required anyone who worked in retail or as a janitor or golf caddy, a maid, any service job really, who was over the age of 17 to be fingerprinted by law enforcement within 48 hours of being hired. And they were then required to carry a police department issued ID card at all times. So that was pretty racist. I mean, unless they exclusively hire white people in Palm Beach, which is not outside the realm of possibility either, and also obviously racist. Fortunately, the Civil Rights Act was signed into law in 1964, and Palm Beach was forced to immediately repeal that ID law more than 20 years later. That's right, it didn't happen until 1985, and it had nothing to do with the Civil Rights Act. It was because of artist Gary Trudeau and his famous political cartoon comic strip, Doonesbury. He published one in 1985 that was a fictional account of a black aide to a progressive Florida congresswoman being tasked with delivering a proposal she'd written to Palm Beach, and that aide being stopped and asked for his papers. Apartheid in South Africa was a big, hairy deal in the United States around this time, and people did note the similarities between that and the Palm Beach law. Once that comic strip was published, the vote to repeal the law passed by a 10-2 margin. The terrified bigots who supported keeping the law in place argued that it was a necessary use of police power. Here's a cocaine and neon-drenched quote from 1985 when this all happened from Palm Beach city manager Douglas Delano. Quote, "When a police officer drives in and sees a crew working on the house, it's hard to tell if they're working on the house or emptying the house. It's a question of security and a means of telling who belongs where." End quote. Yikes, Doug. At the time of the vote, the Palm Beach PD had 126,732 cards on file. These days, the Palm Beach police are still requiring some workers to register and carry ID cards. And by some workers, I mean people who work in the field of adult entertainment. Given the nature of some of the bigger news stories that have emanated from Palm Beach in recent years, I totally understand why they'd enact that measure. Seems like it doesn't extend to massage therapists, though. And that is a loophole they should probably close sometime sooner than later, lest history repeats itself. So in summary, I think I can safely say I don't care that these rich assholes have to drive a little out of their way to go lord their wealth over the slightly less wealthy other residents of Palm Beach, even if Trump is the reason they have to do it. There will be no winners in this battle. I just want both sides to keep fighting. Trump needs all the distractions he can get right now. And hey, that is our episode. Thank you so much for listening. For articles and bonus videos, subscribe at adamtoddbrown.substack.com. And goodbye, everybody. I love you.